You don't want a piece of these streets. It'll make you go bye-bye. You think you're hot but you don't want this heat. It'll make the helicopters fly by.
Sawubona, you creative visionary. I am Temi Buthelezi and welcome to the Future Gen Leaders channel. We're going to talk about estrangement. So I want to talk about the different layers of consciousness, the different minds. So we have the conscious mind. In yesterday's video, we talked about the conscious mind, which is the awareness that we have been the scapegoats of our families, that we have been born into narcissistic families, that we are suffering from guilt, we are suffering from sadness, and we are suffering from loneliness, right? We're suffering from these, and the stigma and the shame that comes from being estranged from your family as a scapegoat of your family, coming from a narcissistic abusive relationship at home, and then noticing that you are in narcissistic relationships at work with spouses and partners. So what I want to talk about is that is the conscious mind. So we have four minds. We have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious mind, we have the collective, and then we have the mind of God. I love therapy and I love psychologists. Honestly, I do, the healthy ones, because once we come to an awareness, oh, I grew up in a narcissistic home, I grew up in an abusive home, I grew up in a home where my needs weren't validated, I grew up in a home where I was always blamed for everything. I just carry a lot of just anxiety, and every time I think of my family, I just get scared and I just feel worthless, and I just feel like I'm just going to get blamed all the time, and I just don't feel confident in myself, right? Every time we go through that experience, that is an awareness coming to our conscious mind right here. It's an awareness of what we have lived through. Okay, so let's say you are currently living through a situation at work where you're constantly blamed, you're constantly projected onto, you're demoted for no reason. You're getting fired all the time. I've lived at this house so many times, lived it. Or let's say you're in an intimate relationship and your partner is always putting you down. Your partner is always calling you stupid. Your partner is cheating on you all the time. Your partner is just really abusive. But the abuse is not physical, where people can see. The abuse is more psychological or mental, right? So you're living through this experience and you finally say to yourself, okay, but like, what is going on? Why is it that I am the one? What I've heard myself say when I find myself in a narcissistic relationship is, why am I the one always attracting these people that want to abuse me? Why do I feel so defeated by these people? I've spoken to a lot of people in narcissistic abusive relationships, and this is what they all say. This is why I'm saying this is a collective experience. I was speaking to one girl recently and she's like, but like, why do I keep attracting these people? Why do these people come to me and start abusing me? Okay, so this is a collective experience. So once you start asking those kinds of questions, that is an awakening experience. You're like, hang on a moment, something's going wrong in my life. This is when we start to seek either therapy, or we start to go on YouTube and look for YouTube videos about narcissism. Or we might not even call it narcissism, but we look at, are there other people that are going through this? Or am I just the only person that just seems to attract all of these abusive people into my life who just want to harm me? Okay. Then once you start doing those Google searches, you're like, this is narcissism. And then you go down this rabbit hole of starting to understand narcissism and your place and your role in these relationships. And usually you are an empath. You're a very, very empathic person. You understand other people's emotions. You empathize with people on a very, very deep level. So it's very easy to get caught up in narcissistic and abusive relationships. Why? Because you are always trying to figure out why that person is doing what they're doing, and you are always making excuses for them. I know, I have lived it. If you've come out of a narcissistic abusive relationship, or if you're still in an abusive relationship, we find ourselves constantly making excuses for narcissistic people. Oh, they had a bad childhood. Oh, they had trauma. Oh, they're very sad people. Their mothers never loved them. Their fathers never loved them. They had a bad day at work. Something to this effect. I have made those excuses for badly behaved people for a long time, until I was just so emotionally drained. I was like, I cannot take this anymore. I'm so sorry. I don't care. I will not take this, and I will not handle this anymore. Okay, that is an awareness stage. Then you Google, then you're like, oh my goodness, this is a thing. There's a lot of people going through this. Okay. But then you start to either disassociate yourself from that relationship, and you go estranged from either your family, or you leave the relationship that you're in. And then you start to feel the rage. Before the grief, before anything else, first is the confusion. You're confused in your mind because you're in a mental fog. Next, you are going to feel the rage. You are going to be in so much rage. If you have lived through a narcissistic abusive relationship, and you've left that relationship, you are going to feel that rage. That rage is going to come up from somewhere inside of you, and you are going to be so angry at yourself for having stayed in that relationship for so long. Then you're going to be angry at that person, and then you're going to be angry at yourself, and then you're going to be angry at the world, and it just goes on and on and on until you work through this. And sometimes it can take 6 months, it can take a year. It took me 13 months to really work through it, just like work through this hell. So 13 months. And then you start to realize, if you're Christian, there are people in the Bible that went through this too. The Bible might not call it narcissistic abuse, but the Bible might call it demonic souls, demonic spirits that are attached to people. And then the fourth layer of this is when you have this transcendent moment where you're like, there is a purpose to this. And maybe that's when you start making videos. It took me a long time to get here and to speak about estrangement because of narcissistic family dynamics. It took me a while. So if you're at the beginning stages and you're like, no, there's something wrong in this relationship. This person's trying to kill me. This person is sapping my energy. This person is always a victim. This person is always a villain, and I have to keep solving their problems. This person is always putting me down. And you now start going on Google or YouTube and start Googling some terms about narcissism. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm in a narcissistic relationship, and you decide to leave. So when you start to feel the anger, and you start to feel the rage, and you start to feel the pain, that is happening on the subconscious level. So you're starting to remember things, and then the rage comes up. So that's when you are feeling it on your body. That is the subconscious mind talking to you about the injustice that you have lived through. The injustice that you have lived through. The more YouTube videos you watch, the more you study about this, the more you become aware about narcissism, the more you realize that it's a theme that is going on throughout consciousness. So if you're a Christian and you're a man and you have lived with a narcissistic woman, it is the story of Adam and Eve, right? Adam was apparently in the Garden of Eden just enjoying his life, and Eve came and gave him a fruit. And this apple was what led the world to the state in what we are in now. This is a symbolic theme throughout consciousness, because the collective is all the stories, Bible stories, stories in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Hindu sacred text, in the Buddhist sacred text. There's stories. Story is life. to live on planet Earth, we are run by stories. So I'm always suggesting to myself and to other people to, once you start to experience the rage inside, sit with that rage. It's okay to sit with that rage and not be afraid to sit with those feelings of sadness, to sit with those feelings of abandonment, to sit with those feelings of sadness, of guilt, and then just question the guilt. Okay, but like, why do I feel guilty that I left a relationship that was not good for me? And what I suggest you do is have a journal. Take out a journal or piece of paper and just write whatever comes to mind. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be like Harvard level essay or whatever essay. It's just you communicating, you allowing yourself to communicate the rage that is coming through you. For some people that don't like to write, speaking is a very good way of communicating the rage that is coming through you. I am not really a person who likes to talk a lot. I like writing more. However, I found that the more I speak, I have a process called tree therapy, where I sit under a tree and I ask myself questions and I speak. The more I have been willing to give myself the permission to speak about the hell that I have lived through in narcissistic abusive relationships, the more my throat chakra opened up, and now I'm here making these videos. Last year, I was just hella angry and I was just wanting to rage. This year, I'm like, tree therapy has really helped me because I've given myself the opportunity to sit down with myself and speak about the atrocities that I have lived through. And now I'm at the stage where I'm out of the collective unconscious because I now understand that it is these stories that are running the consciousness of humanity. The Bible story of Adam and Eve, because for me, it was my younger sister, Busi Buthelezi, that wanted to kill me. And I'm like, but like, where did she get this idea from of being so evil? The collective unconscious is run by stories. A woman who gives a man something, offers a man something, and that man, her husband, goes and, follows her, and then they create havoc here on planet Earth. Okay, so it's a collective story. This story has been running through humanity for a long time. So now I can get to a place of forgiving myself for allowing all of this mess and allowing abuse and allowing narcissistic torture to happen in my life because I wasn't aware of the collective story that she was living under. Okay, I'm just sharing my story, my vignette. Just if you are coming from a narcissistic family where you have narcissistic siblings, you can just substitute whatever characters. But there's always a story that's running, and there's always characters in the story that are abusive, that are villains, that are victims, and that are visionaries. And then once you come out of that collective unconscious, it's actually unconscious because we don't even know that these stories are running. You come out of that through self-forgiveness. I just forgive myself that I didn't realize what was going on. Honestly, I just forgive myself. And I've been sitting like this with my hands on my heart, just saying to myself, I forgive myself for what I didn't know. I forgive myself. It frees you for just a little bit. It gives you reprieve for just a little bit. And the more you allow yourself to have these small moments of reprieve, these small moments of just forgiving yourself for what you didn't actually even understand, the more you can come up to the level of God consciousness, the mind of God, where you see your purpose and you're like, this was my purpose. I grew up in a narcissistic home. There was a lot of abuse when I was growing up. My dad was depressed. My mother was depressed. Depressed people have really dark thoughts. Depressed people don't know how to get out of this. let's look at this. South Africans, I would say maybe 90% of South Africans are depressed, really. I would say, I don't know, maybe 80-70% of Americans are depressed. And I start going around living in different countries. I'm like, look, abuse again, narcissism again, depression again. Wow. My life's journey, my life's purpose. But truly, not everybody's life's purpose is talking about narcissism. Not everybody's life's purpose is working with depressed people. Not everybody's life's purpose is being a healer. So you might have grown up in a home where there was a lot of abuse and there was a lot of narcissism, but your life's purpose is to sing. And through singing, you can heal thyself and heal others. Maybe your life's purpose is to build something. I don't know. Be an accountant or be a lawyer. And maybe your life's purpose is to be a lawyer and help women or men who are being taken advantage of during a divorce process when they are dealing with a narcissist. For me, I look at narcissism as a spiritual sickness. Because when you are depressed or when you are living in shame because of estrangement, it lowers your vibration. You become so low. You have such low self-esteem and you can't live fully here on planet Earth. You can't live fully. So I realized if I could help more people just get out, understand what they have lived through. Okay? No shame, no making you bad, because I had to look at my own shame and my own guilt and my own loneliness. I'm like, I have lived through some stuff, right? Okay, so how do I get out of this? I'm depressed right now. Okay, so let me get out of my depression. Once I got out of depression and started working on my grief and started working on my shame and started working on my guilt, I'm like, I'm innocent. Okay, not entirely. I've made some mistakes. We all make some mistakes. But in this moment, I am innocent. I didn't ask for this. I chose this on a spiritual level to come into this life experience and experience all of the narcissism and all of the pain so that I could awaken to the mind of God and say, this is not real. It is an experience that I've lived through, but my soul is stronger. My spirit is invincible. And if my spirit is invincible, that means most people who live through narcissistic abusive situation fall into a depression, go into grief, go into shame and blame and self-hatred and all of this. It's not true completely. The story is not done. It's not done. And if I can plant the seed in you and say, yes, you are in this situation, but the story is not done. Your story is not done. And just encourage you to take that step to start your healing process, to start working on healing the wounds from the immediate wounds, whether it's in your job, whether it's in your intimate relationships, and then work your way up to looking at your childhood and how your childhood has influenced the choices you make in regards to the people you allow into your life, the jobs you go for. What a beautiful world we could have. What a beautiful world we can have. But we also have to honor that we need to talk about narcissism. We need to talk about dysfunctional relationships because they are destroying countries. They are destroying people's lives. They are destroying companies. This is a spiritual attack. This is spiritual warfare. Narcissism goes beyond just a psychological illness. It is spiritual. Therapists and psychologists talk about the beginning phases of it, which is the conscious mind, helping you become aware of all of the pain. And this is why I will always respect good therapists, because I have had to sit many, many days in therapy. Okay? So it allows you to just process the pain on a conscious level. Then you need to go and work on it on a physical level. That's why sometimes it's good to dance, it's good to do yoga, it's good to have massages. But if you don't have the money for this, you can just sit and massage yourself, because pain is stored in the body. Memories of pain are stored in the body. If you were being beaten in your narcissistic relationship, there is so much trauma and pain that is stored in the body. So it's usually great. Like for me, I realized I had a lot of pain that was stored in my body. So I danced a lot. I went drum circle. I danced in my house. I sing a lot because I just need to release that pain. And then as I was working through that, I started looking at the Bible. I started looking at the Bhagavad Gita. I started looking at Buddhist texts. I started looking at Confucius texts. I started reading a lot of Lao Tzu. I went like wide because this is a spiritual attack on humanity. And after going through that experience of awakening, I even took ayahuasca and realized that in ayahuasca, I was seeing these realms of demonic realms where they're like, we will give you whatever you want. Fame, we'll give you money, we'll give you anything that you want, we'll give you. Sell your soul, sell your family. I was like, no. This is just too much for me. I will not sell my soul, nor will am I willing to sell anybody else's soul for money or for fame. And that was when I realized, my full purpose is bigger than just the fame and the money. Because in the end, narcissists are really interested in fame and fortune because they have a serious lack inside of them. They hate themselves. And as empaths, we're so giving and so loving and so nurturing. That's why they can suck you dry. So boundaries are also so important. But you can't even get to boundaries until you kind of like work through your body, through dancing, through movement, somatic therapy. Because then you realize, this is my body. This is my space. Nobody can come in this space. And once you start working on your body, in your body, then you move up to the collective unconscious, and then you move up to your full purpose. And once you've moved up to your full purpose, you realize that you're untouchable. You're living at your God self. But we have to climb these stages. We truly have to climb these stages. So if you are estranged from a family dynamic, you're going through divorce, you are divorced, you've left a job because of narcissistic tendencies at your work, you left a cult or an abusive church environment, I want to encourage you that this is not the end of your story. It's just the beginning of your story. It's not the end of your story. You are going to live to tell the truth about what you've lived through. You are going to live to share the goodness of your journey, even though it's tough right now, even though you might be in serious pain. I can honestly guarantee you that in the end of this journey, you are going to be grateful that you lived that journey, because you are going to recognize how strong you are. But as you are living through that, be okay with where you are. The pain, the sadness, the loneliness, the grief, the depression, it's okay. Just keep moving through it. The way you move through it is to honor how you feel at that moment. I feel angry right now. Okay, let me breathe through this anger. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be liberated from all ignorance. May I be liberated from all suffering. The more you pray that prayer, it helps you get to a point of just accepting where you are and not trying to fight where you are, because you can't skip these steps. As you skip these steps, you'll find that you'll go back into another abusive relationship again. And this is what I've learned through my journey. But it might not be like that for you, but that's what I've learned through my journey. So below in the comments, please make sure that we have some dialogue. What have you learned through this video about the 4 stages of the mind, or the 4 minds? The conscious mind, where it allows you to go, hang on a moment, there's something wrong here. You start Googling. Then maybe you end up in therapy. Second, the subconscious mind, where you're like, oh my God, I just feel so angry right now and the rage is coming out of me. Okay, I can breathe through this rage. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be liberated from all ignorance. may I be liberated from all suffering. The third stage. Now let's look at mythology. Let's look at stories in the Bible, in the Bhagavad Gita, and Confucius texts, whomever you pray to, or whatever your spiritual orientation is. That's like looking at it from a broader perspective and recognizing Cain and Abel. There was brothers. One brother killed the one brother because of jealousy. So this is a story that has been going on for a long time. Joseph's brothers sold their brother to, slavery. So this is the story that has been going on throughout human history. Most of the saints and most of the holy people, most of the true visionaries, actually, I'm starting to realize that they are scapegoats. They were the ones that abused the most. And then you come out of that into the mind of God. You're like, the purpose is way bigger. I'm not saying as a chosen one, you are a prophet or you have a mission as big as a prophet. Maybe your mission is just to share in your community. Maybe your mission is just to get women around and just share. I don't know what your mission is and your purpose is. But in the comments below, let's have a dialogue. What have you learned about yourself as you are coming out of an abusive relationship? Or maybe you're still in it and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. What are you learning about yourself? Because the more you become aware, the more you can move from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4. Yes? So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. Please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm getting good at this YouTube stuff. We're going to carry on this journey because now that I've set the stage and I've talked about these different phases of consciousness, we can start exploring this idea of narcissism from a perspective of let's rise. Let's raise our vibration so that we no longer have to deal with these souls. Yes? No. So thank you so much for joining me. See you in the next video. Bye. Russia! scream.